And she was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to go talk to the professor. And I mean, the professor could say, weird kid, I'm just going to flunk her. I'm going to make life miserable for her. Or, here's the goody two-shoes. Anything could happen, but you have to rise above fear. Usually we don't say things because we're fearful. And if we are fearful of people more than God, we have trouble. But to say, Lord, give me the words not to be, disrespectful or not to be cruel, but to go with respect and say, I need to tell you about this. I don't want to be a part of this. Can you let me know ahead of time and I just won't come to this class? Or is there any way that you can show different kinds of examples besides these? And, that teacher took it to heart. No one's ever done that before. And, all of the college kids think, throwing F-bombs all over the place is just cool. And so for a college kid to say it's not cool, wow, the teacher was like, I will. So now even if there's one little tiny thing that they would consider not, it's like, oh, Cassie, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that this thing was there. So, it's made her aware of, but we have to be willing to speak up. We must not coddle sin. Cassidy once told me of a church that she and her family belonged to, and I thought this was really cool because you don't hear this very often. But when you applied for church membership, one of the questions that was asked is, are you coming to be a member of our church because you were offended at your last church? Whoa. That is amazing. I've never heard that before. And so, they said, we would love for you to be a part of our church, but we need for you to go take care of that. Otherwise, you bring that trouble into our church. So it's like, that is so awesome that there are people out there that are willing to say, friend, this is the way, walk ye in it. Be willing to do what is right. There is a theme in Christianity today that says that Christians aren't going to have to suffer during the tribulation because that God will whisk them off of the planet. I don't know why, because if we are seeing who we are, we know that we deserve no special treatment. But I want you to go to the book of Revelation. I want to close with this thought here and give you something to think about, because next week I will wind up this 3-part series with the eternal gospel. But I want to take you to Revelation 13, because today, just like back in Noah's day, the world is not going to flood. Back in Isaiah and Jeremiah's day, God is not going to destroy Jerusalem. God is not going to allow us to go into captivity. God is going to speak out against sin. And he is going to give warning to the world in the form of trumpet warnings, trumpet sounds that we'll talk about later. But I want you to read something that you can be thinking about for next week. Let's just start with verse 1. I saw a beast coming out of the sea, and he had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns, and each head had a blasphemous name. Okay, you know that already. That's not good. Even if you don't know what this means, you already know this is not a good thing if it concerns blasphemy. The beast I saw resembled a leopard and had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was astonished and followed the beast. Okay, in a sentence, I'm going to tell you that this is a crisis government that will arise in response to God's wrath when it's poured out in the trumpets. And it's 7 heads because it involves every religious system that exists today. God is going to level them all, including Christianity. Now look at verse 4. Men worshiped the dragon because he had given authority to the beast. They also worshiped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can make war against him? Okay, worshiping something other than God, even if you don't know and haven't studied prophetic things, this should give you a warning in your mind, something that you need to know and understand. This is not good. The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise authority for 42 months. That's a long time. He opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. Now this is what I had to read that to get to verse 7. He was given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. And if you have a Catholic background, I have to tell you that the word saints means sheep. Sheep, God's people. This crisis government is given authority to make power on the saints and conquer them. Guess what? The saints are here. They're not anywhere else. They haven't disappeared in some secret rapture. They are here. How can the beast make war against people that aren't here? And he was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, the devil, ultimately. All whose names have not been written in the book of life belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. And this is basically saying is that God has written the names of all of those who he knows ahead of time who has chosen him. He's not predestined. He knows what our choices are. Everyone else that is chosen not to love God, that live at that time, they will worship this beast, meaning they will totally forsake God and everything that is holy to follow this unholy government and who is behind it. Let's keep reading. He who has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is to go into captivity he will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of the saints. Why is that needed if no one's here to have it? The saints are on this planet. God is saying you are going to have patient endurance and faithfulness. But Christianity is saying that's not going to happen. We're not going to be here. We don't want to hear this. We serve a God of love. Our God would never pour out this kind of wrath and never let this happen. I'm here to tell you that you can choose to be in one of two camps. You can bury your head and live in the land of itching ears and surround yourself with people that want to hear nothing but pleasantries and prosperity and all is good. And you don't have a thing to worry about. You're going to be whisked off this planet. For those that are being undone because you have a saving relationship with your Savior. And every time you even speak his name, and every time you are in prayer, you are undone because you know that you are alive only because of his great mercy. You know that if you are going to go to heaven, it's going to be because he has been so generous to you, so good to you, so compassionate to you, that he has forgiven you 1,000 times 1,000. You are living a life that is being undone every day because when you see God's holiness, you see that you are nothing without him. Then you will be required to have the kind of faith that this is talking about. And dear ones, surround yourself with those that speak truth, want truth, are hungry for the truth, refuse to live lies, refuse to invent delusions in their own heads, that want to read the Word, that hunger for knowing more of Christ, that desire holiness and righteousness, that seek first God's kingdom and then anything else, that love God first and then others, that choose to sharpen you so that you can sharpen others. This is the life that we're being called to. It is not a popular life. It is not a popular thing to want to know what is coming in the days to come. But I'm telling you that Paul says it when he says, when they cry for peace and safety, destruction comes on them suddenly, and they will not escape. They perish because they refuse, do not want to love the truth and so be saved. May we not be found in that place. May we not be found looking for those that speak pleasantries. May we be willing to divide the truth appropriately and listen to when God is bringing revelation to us about us so that we can line up with Him. Judgment is coming on this planet and is coming on every one of us. And my prayer is that we will be found with nothing except clinging to Jesus, because He is our only hope and our salvation.